Hi, everyone. My name is Yuri Malishenko. I have a daytime job, which is agile coach. And then the rest of the time, I'm a visual thinker. That means that I'm exploring how simple drawings and sketches could improve the way we think, communicate, collaborate to solve complex problems together. And in the part of visual thinking, I blog, I train, I organize meetups, and then I also run a podcast on the topic of visual thinking. And today I am humbled to be invited for a conversation from you guys in Mural, which is super fantastic. I'm happy to be here. My multidisciplinary background is that I have a major in applied mathematics. I've been working as a graphic designer for 5 years, and I've been doodling and sketching all of my life since I was a kid. And then later in my career, I started working with IT projects in the capacity of a project manager and a business analyst. After some years, I've converted into a more of a coaching and a consulting role. And up until now, my major occupation is to help organizations and teams build better digital products, and that's very exciting. I'm passionate about my job, and visual thinking was always there for me, but not until 2011 when I realized that it was a major part of me doing my job. And in 2015, I also was encouraged by my friends to start teaching visual thinking. And first, I didn't think it was possible to get someone up to speed so quickly in order to help them become proficient in visual thinking. But it turned out that people are very smart and resourceful, and it's possible. And that encouraged me to continue. So now, 5 years into my professional activity as a trainer and evangelist of visual thinking, I don't see any reason to stop from continuing. I really enjoyed that. Well, as I said, my primary job is still an agile coach. My regular day looks like this. I participate in the events with my teams where they are discovering problems and in a collaborative way work together to define solutions to those problems. There is a lot of communication. There is a lot of problem solving. And my role is mostly a facilitator of those events. And sometimes I chip in as a subject matter expert if it's applicable, but most of the time I'm a kind of an enabler. And now within this post-COVID situation, a lot of events are happening remotely where people need even more support to stay focused, to stay on the topic and aligned. And that's where my visual thinking superpowers kick in, because I can draw the conversations. I can encourage them to join these conversations through the tools like Mural, where people can collaborate and draw and move sticky notes around and basically be on top of the things that they're discussing. I think it's only fair to talk about that trying to sketch alone. So you will not see my eyes because I will need to look down on my iPad. So I have this mural board set up, and I will try to quickly illustrate. And the first thing that comes to my mind when I'm thinking about this question is this fantastic metaphor of an iceberg. So if we draw an iceberg, let me pick the proper tool here. So if we draw an iceberg, which signifies visual thinking in our case, and what we know about icebergs is that usually it's the smaller part of it that pokes out of water, and the other larger part of it always hides in the deep, so you cannot actually see that. So what is that tip of an iceberg that is visible to people? And in the case of visual thinking and sketchnoting, because these two things overlap largely, whereas sketchnoting is a smaller part of a broader universe of of visual thinking, is that drawings, that is what people see. So when you show the final result of your workshop or your sketch notes at the end of you capturing notes from a meeting or a conference, that's what people see. They see the artifact. And of course, it's only natural for people to focus on that because that's what is visible. And they're excited and fascinated, and they like, oh, you draw so nicely. And then they stay obsessed about this, the artifact part of it. But that's only a smaller part of it. Of course, it's very important. So if you feel not confident enough to draw, then you might not be successful in visual thinking because you will struggle all the time. But if you are past that point where you can be confident drawing some simple icons and basic shapes, then you focus on your thinking, you focus on the information design, you focus on the essentials of the meaning, and you focus on interaction with people and empathy with them. So there is so much behind, and those parts are very important to visual thinking, maybe even more important than just drawing alone. So you could say that the general misconception is that people focus and obsess about drawings, and if they especially are not confident they could get up to speed with simple drawings, usually it also becomes a major obstacle for them to really enjoy and explore the area of visual thinking. But if you fast forward through drawing and then you focus on information design, facilitation, modeling, okay, I made a typo here. It's good that you have this undo button to correct your mistakes. And you also focus on empathy and things like systems thinking. That's a whole range of things behind visual thinking. And I'm not even sure that I have listed all of the components, but just to give you an idea. Well, banal tools like pen and paper. So if we talk about tools, that would be a go-to medium and a tool. So any paper you find in your office or at home, now that if you have to work from home due to the lockdowns in different regions, and pen and paper is all you need actually, and it's effective enough. Also, the sticky notes, post-its, loved by so many people, especially people from product design and UX. These are super versatile tools that allow you to arrange visual models without using a single drawing. But you could also draw on top of the sticky notes. For example, you could draw a smiley on it and map an emotional aspect of what you're discovering with your diagram or a model. Whiteboards, oh my God, these are so good. But again, if you don't have the luxury of working from the office environment because of COVID, you don't have access to physical whiteboards probably, but some of you might have them at home like I do. And this is really awesome. Whiteboards, they allow you to, again, to celebrate experiments. You can draw, wipe away, and it's cheap and fast. And then in the age of COVID limitations imposed on how we work, of course, we're talking about digital tools. And in that regards, tablets are very useful because they allow you to draw immediately inside of the application digitally, and you don't need to scan. And what is even more important is that a lot of tools, they allow you to collaborate on that particular drawing. So it's not only you who has the control over the artifact. So tablets with styluses, they're awesome. And right now I'm drawing this conversation inside of a mural board with my iPad Pro and an Apple Pencil, and it's awesome because you can see what I'm doing. I can record it and we can share it later on. So it's really awesome. And I also know that right now a lot of people are using a combination of a video conferencing application, for example, Microsoft Teams, where they can be on the call with their colleagues and see each other and have a conversation as if everyone was in the same meeting room, and use the built-in tools. For example, Microsoft Teams has this whiteboard tool. It's of course not as advanced as Mural, but then some companies do not allow the tools for some reasons, and therefore you can get away by, for example, connecting a drawing stylus that is a kind of a special mouse where you use a pen instead of a roller ball, and then you could draw your conversation inside of the video conferencing tool. So these examples of different instruments have shown great potential support and facilitation, both face-to-face and remotely. In general, they have the issue of identifying a need which is worth solving and proving that this is a good thing to do. And that's a whole process, and there is a lot of creativity and uncertainty around it. And after they have proven that, yes, there is a need like that, customers really would like to have a solution for that. Now they need to find a proper solution to that need. And that is also a very creative and full of uncertainty area. And what makes their job interesting and challenging is that these two parts of their job, they cannot be done on their own. They cannot just have it, sit down and solve it. They need to invite and involve a lot of different people coming from different trades, cultures, mindsets, understanding about the problem and solution, and they need to facilitate and align them through those parts of the process of coming up with a great product that the customers would ultimately love. So if I would boil it down to a couple things, then it would be the problem of supporting an effective collaboration, and also effective alignment around certain pieces of information. And visual thinking comes very handy to solve these problems, because they can draw, they can model, they can engage people in the process so that everyone is doing that together. And it's just, visual thinking is so applicable to everything product owners and product managers do that I would just say they have to know how to do that. That makes their life so much easier and allows them to come to great products that customers love so much faster. When you're in a sales situation, there are two parts to the game. So you have you, a bright person with an open mind and what you call it, like an honest heart. You want to offer services and products. So basically, but you need to sell them. You need to convince your customer that you are trustworthy and these products solve their problems. But the customer coming into this conversation, they are assessing you and your offerings from the perspective of the problems and needs they have. So in order to be trustworthy, in their eyes, you need to prove that, first of all, you understand their situation. So you get their problem. So you have the empathy for what is the real problem. And it's important for them that you don't push on selling your services or products in the first place, so that you truly want to help them solve their problem. And after that, they want to know, let's say you successfully passed this stage and you've proven that you care about their problem. Then you need to prove to them that your offering really solves the problem, right? So that there is a perfect match between their problem and your solution. And again, if you are capable of using visual thinking tools, then you would show that you care and that you're not just translating those regular slide deck given to you by your head office by just coming up to a whiteboard and mapping their situation. That is the ultimate proof of your care toward their problem, because you say, hey, let's talk about their problem. What is happening? And then you would diagram and you would draw their situation and you would outline where it hurts. And this way, there is no better proof for your potential customer that you really understand the gist of their problem. So you can easily pass the stage by building up this understanding, again, in a collaborative way together with the customer. And then you take that and you do pretty much the same, but now on the second stage, you brainstorm together with your customer whether the problem you identified earlier can be checked with your solution. And there you will be honestly mapping out how the modules of your solutions could attack the problem you identified. And then you need to be honest again, because if there is no fit, there is no fit. But if you go through the conversation like that, if you go through the process like that, what I can assure you that even if you didn't successfully convert that into a deal, because for example, there was no fit, or maybe you were too expensive, these people will remember that you knew your stuff and they will probably recommend you or get back to you when there is a match. So it's totally worth using visual thinking in a sales situation as well. Well, but I'm biased. I believe in learning by doing. So I'm a great believer of that concept. And learning by doing when it comes to visual thinking is that the only way you can get into the doing phase is that you get to sketch and model and stuff like that. So earlier in the year, I have packaged my training program in the format of an online training published with Udemy, because I realized that everyone is pushed to work remotely. That minimizes our ability to train in a class environment, and we need to do that remotely. And I was looking for a format that would be friendly for people to try and learn something remotely and online. So what I've done is that I have created a course where a person watches the instructional videos, but not the classical ones where you're just taken through theory and then given the assignment in the end. But when you watch that video, it's me sketchnoting what I'm talking about. So I'm doing that deliberately slowly, so the person could watch my basically my hand drawing something on a piece of paper where I explain a concept. But the unique feature of the course is not only that, but that the person follows me along, right? So it's slow enough for a person to be able to replicate my moves. So they watch what I'm doing, they have a piece of paper on the table, and they try to follow along. And by now, I have the evidence that the students are successfully doing that. They are sending me snapshots of their workbooks they have created through the course, and it means that it's working. So the pace is good, it's not too stressful. So in the end, what every student has is a makeshift do-it-yourself workbook full of sketch notes that explain different aspects of visual thinking and sketchnoting. So they get to practice as they go through the course. That's a very pragmatic, hands-on approach that I personally enjoy the most when I'm training, because I don't want to talk about these things. If I hope for people to learn something, I want to encourage them to do, and then it has to be fair and square. So you need to walk your talk, and that's how I train. I personally haven't seen those super exotic ways of applying those, but I am talking to various people through my podcast show, and I often ask the same question: what was the most exotic way of you using that? Or maybe you have seen someone applying that in an unexpected way. And but what is exotic again? And I know that these things are being applied in almost every aspect of uh, human activity. And recently I spoke with Mike Roddy, a person who has invented the term sketchnoting, and he told me that one of the unusual ways of using sketch notes was a lady teacher reaching out to him, asking to consult on how to best teach imprisoned kids in US in certain aspects using sketchnoting. And that was an example of an application for some good cause in a very unusual setting. So that I would just use his example to demonstrate that there is no boundary of applying the method. Well, yeah, it's a good question. I again enjoy talking about myself here. I have a company called VizThinker, and it's more like a hobby business because again, during the day I am sitting in the office working with the teams, but I am open to be hired to do some training or something related to helping others learn visual thinking. And once in a while I organize online events where I teach people stuff. So it could be a webinar or something. Sometimes people hire me to get them a training for them and their team on sketchnoting, and I enjoy such side gigs and assignments. But it's more like a hobby at the moment, but I never turn down um, any 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 requests, so to speak. So if you're interested to hire me for some gig for your team, yeah, that's totally a possibility. If you like the idea of checking my online course out, there will be a link to my course on Udemy, and I'm offering you a 50% discount with the code Mural is cool, and you will find all the details in the description to this episode. Thank you.